Hey, this is Tyrese Anderson. So, what I want to talk about is why long term planning is important. So, for this video, I'll discuss why long term planning is important if you have a career, whether it's an entertainment based career or it is a more traditional, technical based career, such as maybe a job that relates to maybe politics, science, technology, all that type of stuff. This video will explain to you why it is so important to think in the long term. So this video will be quite helpful to you. So let's get started with the basics. What exactly is long-term planning when it comes to being very precise for it, or more specific when it comes to describing what long-term planning is? What long-term planning is when you have a vision, or in other words, you write down your plans 5 to 10 years in the future, such as, for example, where do you think you will be 5 to 10 years in the future, or what even you plan to happen in 5, 10 years in the future. Now, the thing about this that you also have to keep in mind, though, is that it's more than just simply down and just simply writing it once on a piece of paper. It also is something that you have to consistently work on and build up on. So that's exactly what long-term planning is. It's a skill that you have to not just have a vision of what you want, but you have to constantly keep on working on building it up. So it is very clear and precise on what exactly you want. Now, when it comes to even being more specific for long-term planning, it can be helpful depending on the type of skill, whether it's a creative skill, like whether it's such as music or maybe video posting or even being a politician or a scientist. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to long term planning, regardless of the type of skill you have, these are the two main things that can be helpful for. The two main things that can be helpful for is, for one, making sure, that you have a vision of what you want to do so you don't run out of ideas. Because if you have a vision of what you want to do, it can teach you in advance, like how to kind of not just jam pack things, all of your ideas together at once, so you can, and instead spread them out so they can be more creative. And aside from that, it also prepares you for the future, because the future is unpredictable. No matter how unpredictable you think the future is, the truth of the matter is that there is a basic way it works. Truth of the matter is, there's a basic setup, a basic fundamental system for the future, in all honesty. Okay, there's a basic way you can prepare yourself, in other words, to make things simple for the future. And this will be a very helpful skill for you, especially in the case of a politician. Why? You need to think in the long term, because you can see where things are kind of going, if anything, in all honesty. So it's definitely something you definitely want to do, whether it's a creative skill or a technical skill or something. It's very helpful. It's something that's very needed. So now that I've gone over the benefits, um, the purpose of long-term planning and why it's important, let's go into even further detail to why long-term planning is a must, to be more specific. Now, the reason why it's a must and why you should use long-term planning, to go into further detail for it, is that when it comes to long-term planning, it is helpful in making sure you have a vision, so because the truth of the matter is, I'm certain people are going to wonder, why do you need long-term planning? Because people say, well, there's a lot of people who are successful without long-term planning and all this type of stuff. But the truth of the matter is, whether you can be successful with it or not, it's still a way of making sure there's greater efficiency for what you are doing. Because the thing about long-term planning is that long-term planning will will help you be more creative, not only more creative, such as making sure you don't run out of ideas, because you can kind of have an idea of like what exactly in a span of like 5 to 10 years you're going to be doing, um, or even working on for that matter, to be more specific. Uh, and it also helps you learn how, even with the process of it, how to think more into the future. Because even when you look at each year, what happens each year? Actually, think about it. No matter how unpredictable the world is, it's still predictable at the same time. Every year, there's a few main things that happen every year, such as natural disasters, uh, political problems or political, even just simply political people rise to the top or whatnot, or it could be this, it could be that. When you really look at it, the world is extremely predictable, but at the same time extremely unpredictable. If you know what I'm saying, it's extremely predictable because we already know it's going to happen, but at the same time it's just unpredictable in the sense of how it's going to happen. But the truth of the matter is, of course, I'm certain you would imagine you focus on a predictable side of it. Some things just happen every single year, and you prepare yourself for it, and you in whichever way is possible. Okay, um, in some way, shape, or form. So you predict yourself for it, whether it could be something like understanding what's going on in the world, or even just preparing yourself for what do in the case of being a musician or whatnot, what are people in the mood for at this particular period of the year or whatnot. So this is what I'm trying to get across here, is that you have to visualize things in the future because it just in general helps you as an individual and it helps you stay more creative. Not to mention the other benefit of actually um, long-term planning is that is aside from just simply helping your with your creativity, is that to go into further detail, like I was saying before, is that the truth of the matter is it is also helpful for helping you become more successful, which of course I was getting at for this whole video. But now it's more successful, it helps you understand the heights you want to get to. Because the truth of the matter is, if you don't have an idea of like the heights you want to get to for anything you want to do, how are you going to get to it? Like you can't, like, this is the thing about human beings, which many people don't understand about human beings. We are designed actually through evolution to actually always think about the main thing we want to accomplish. Because the more we do that, it gives us a vision of what we want. So we can think about all the steps to get there. This way of thinking that has kind of become popularized, this way of thinking that you just simply don't focus on where you're going, you just do things as you go along. It couldn't be further from the truth. We are actually designed to focus on our vision and think about what we can do to get to that ultimate destination. And when you have an idea of where you want to ultimately go for your destination, it makes it more likely you can actually take all the steps needed to get to that level. Like how many years would it take, for example, to eventually, if you want to become a top musician and you're like 18 or something, how many years would it be take for you to get to a certain level, at least if you're able to make it there? So that's another benefit for long-term planning. Or in the case of being a politician, if you are concerned about like the possibility that a disaster or something could happen, how could, or even something relating to food or something for that matter, how can I make sure that there is enough food for everybody for as long as possible, especially with population of the world that's always increasing. So that's what you want to think. You want to think in that way, and that's really what I have to say. Now, the truth of the matter is, even going into further detail explaining why long-term planning is so important, because the truth of the matter is, because I'm certain if I were to bring up this point, some people will still not be unconvinced. The truth of the matter is have you ever asked yourself this question, why most people online, or not even just online, whether it could be YouTubers or business people and this and that, fail? The truth of the matter, why most people fail for those skills is because they didn't have a long-term vision. They didn't have a long-term plan. They just did things as they went along. And when you just do things as you go along, you're more likely to fail because you don't know where things are going. You just do things as you do sporadically. So this is why a lot of people and a lot of businesses fail. It's even estimated that 85% of businesses fail. And one of the reasons I suspect for that reason is because they didn't plan for long term. They just see where things are going to go. And the world is unpredictable. You don't know where things are going to go. So for that to happen, that's kind of a case of, well, you should have prepared for the future. And that's the truth of the matter, though. So no, no matter how you look at it, though, you have to prepare yourself for the future if you want to be successful, and especially if you want to become extremely rich. You should prepare yourself for the future. This is my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video and like videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. This is all I have to say. Hope you enjoyed it. Simply put it, later.